Okay, so today we have something a bit different. Before we even get into the DLC, this comes with it. Not the bike skin, that's a mod actually, but the Slash character. And it's so different, and I'm really glad that they kind of went in this direction for a little bit. Now, I don't think that means no replicas or realistic tracks anymore. I just think that this was something kind of fun to do. I guess Slash is a big moto guy, and he's got at least one song, maybe a couple songs in the game, so really cool to see they went in this direction. This Slash is a playable rider now, and I guess that's it. So we'll jump into this, starting with the first track. Okay, so we're jumping into this with the first Supercross track called Kick It Up. It is probably my favorite one as well. It's not the most difficult. I think the second Supercross track is a bit more difficult than this one, and mainly because of the rhythm sections, but this track in particular has, I think, the biggest jumps, the most overscaled, oversized out of the tracks, and might have the longest lap times. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't ran any time attack or any races or anything like that. I've just been messing around in free ride, but I really think they did a good job with this track, especially this one, because I feel like they kind of embrace the way the game plays. You know, it's a floaty preload, a bit more arcade style game, and I mean that's just it's what it is. So I know there's some people that are going to be shaking their heads saying, you know, I needed more replicas, and after getting the goat farm, which I think is one of the greatest additions to the game, you know, this is a pretty big change of pace, but I welcome it. You know, like with Reflex, MX versus ATV Reflex, if you play custom tracks, there's a guy named MX Warlord, and he makes tracks very similar to this. I mean, his tracks are even more oversized, overscaled, just out of this world, crazy huge. But it's cool to see this. It's almost like inspiration came from that, you know what I mean? But like I said, embracing the fact that the game is floaty, and this kind of track, I guess, really suits the way the game plays. And a lot of this stuff on this track in particular, you really don't have to preload that much. I think I threw a preload here, and I know you can't really see it because I turned the HUD off, and I turned the HUD off because it just looks better without the HUD, so you can't really see what I'm preloading. But for the most part, to hit all of the standard lines, I really don't think you need to preload that much. So the track is built just to carry your momentum and not really have to throw a preload. Like that quad, if you really hit that corner hard, you actually over jump without preloading. Same with this triple. If you hit it just right, go through the sand, super easy to get over. It sets you up for this boom, huge triple, and then this big step down quad. Now we actually go through this rhythm section a bit different too. So I tried to hit as many of the different lines as I could. I think you could have quadded here by the staging area, but I wanted to get a clean lap, so I just quadded in and was a baby about trying to get anything else. And then this rhythm section coming up, there is multiple different ways through that. But if you actually jump over that table where we stepped on, it's really easy to... It kicks you up so high in the air that I don't think it's better. And then here, right before the finish line, this is actually, this is a huge step down triple. It's insane. And then a triple into the finish line, which I'll show you after we finish this lap, because that was one line that I was unable to get cleanly with the rest of a full lap. So we have to do just kind of showing you this, because it was really hard. It was really hard. The step down triple is tough, but the toughest part was actually getting this triple to the finish line. It was so insanely tough. But those are like some of the bigger lines that I'm aware of. We're going to skip to the second track and kind of do the same thing. Show a few mixed laps with different lines, and then any of the big lines that I can't get, I will show you at the end of the laps. Okay, so here we have Last Thrill, I believe is what it's called. And this track, I would consider this track probably the toughest one out of all three. It has more line choice than any of the other tracks, and it has some really, really big lines. I don't know if it has any lines as big as the first track did, Kick It Up. I think that track just in general was the biggest overscaled track out of the DLC, and that's why it's my favorite. But this one is the most challenging and provides you with the most options to get around it. I mean, even right here, you can actually quad in and then double. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the best way around it, because it just doesn't set you up very well. But here's the split lane, and I actually think it's best to take the inside. It's a little bit awkward to get to the inside from the triple section before it, but you can carry so much more speed and then hit these whoops properly, because I mean, we got through it actually pretty decent, and I'm sure that there's people that can do it better than me, but I don't know. I just feel like taking the inside helps set you up better for the whoop section and will provide you with a much faster lap. Now, I do elect to go inside here. I think this is the only time I do. I actually cut the track a bit, but I just don't see any reason to do it. It feels kind of awkward to take that line, and that double-double doesn't really seem that it's better enough to risk going for it. Now, you kind of could see it back there. The jump faces are offset. They're not all the same. I mean, not all the jumps, but some of these jumps have, like, there's a little bit more of a peak on some spots of these jumps, and if you hit that, it gives you a different pitch to the landing, and you don't have to use it, but it does kind of help to hit some of these bigger lines. And I didn't really notice that until much later after I'd rode. I mean, I rode here for a long time, guys, a really long time, because I'm not really good enough to get really good solid laps, so it took forever to get some of these with the bigger lines, and I couldn't even do it. I actually have to just cut to some of the bigger lines because I could not make it part of a single clean lap. So at the end of this lap, you will see, I think that, I don't remember what we do. Oh yeah, I think we throw this massive triple at the end off the finish line, which that's not so hard. The triple out after that was what was so difficult. But basically, I think this is all the same, or at least really close. I think you could quad, but we kept over jumping. It was just really hard. The rhythm sections aren't, it's not just hold it wide open and you're gonna get the big line, or let off and you can do something different. It's like this fine spot in between where you don't want to go too fast, but you don't want to go too slow. So throttle control actually plays a part here. Unless you're like insane and can just rail it around the corner and hit every single big line and do things that are much bigger than what we're doing in this video, maybe. But I guess I'm just assuming for your average player, I think the rhythm sections will provide some challenge, especially in this DLC. Like I said, simply because you can't just you don't really just hold it on. You have to let off a bit. Now let's see if we triple here. Yeah, so the triple is easy because it's really easy to overjump the double, but this triple out was tough. I did it a couple times, but I cased on the way out, and I didn't like that, so I kept trying until I could get it clean. Now, what are we gonna... Okay, so this is one of the bigger lines you can take here. As you can see, we actually hit the spot where the face of the jump was raised a bit more, which helps you to get through that. Maybe you could jump all the way out. I couldn't, but hey, that's something you can shoot for if you want, but I was unable to do it, and it took me forever just to get that line anyways. But I still don't think that's the best way. I think the best way is to take the inside line and jump to the, what would it be, the second table. Now, I don't have any footage of that. I thought I did, but apparently I, one, wasn't recording or deleted it. I really don't know, but I thought I had footage of that. I don't, but you'll be able to see on this next lap what I'm talking about when we take the inside line finally. The only problem with that is I feel that it's kind of tough to grab that thing. So as far as rating them, this is probably, I don't know, it's close. This is probably my second favorite track. I mean, it's just kind of 1, 2, 3 is how they are in the DLC, and that's kind of how they are in my, as far as me enjoying them. The third track is really good too. I just think that this one is a bit better because of the difficulty. I think that this is the toughest track out of the DLC, and the one that most people are gonna, I think it's gonna take people more time to learn this track. And this split lane is just awesome. I love split lane sections. I love the options you have, because it really does feel like if you're racing multiplayer, well, for sure multiplayer, I'm not gonna count the AI, but it really does feel like if you're racing multiplayer, the split lane is gonna matter. People are gonna take multiple lines there. It's not gonna be like everybody sticks and funnels in line to the same thing. I really feel like that is gonna be a big part to racing against people. So I think that's why I really like this track, because of the line choice. I think the design is good. I just don't think it's as good as the first track was. So I think the second or the third track probably has a better design. I don't know, maybe a better design than this one, but it just doesn't have the options that this one has. And so after we finish this lap, there's 2 sections with bigger lines that I was not able to get during a clean lap, so we will show you those here when this finishes, and then jump over into the third track which is called wah-wah, I think, or something like that. I don't remember. But I did this right here just because I figured someone was curious. Can you quad to this? You can. I mean, I kind of did, but I'm sure someone can do it better than that. But yeah, I think you can. I think it's definitely a possibility. And then at the end here, we throw in this huge triple where we were just doubling. Okay, so after this section, we're going to throw in this massive triple here, which changes your timing for the rest of the rhythm section. So there you go. That is the second track. We are going to be jumping into the third track. Like I said, it's called wah-wah. So I will see you over there in just a second. Okay, so here we have our third and final track. Well, third and final track, we still have the freestyle arena, which we'll check out at the end, and I'll kind of talk about my final thoughts on the DLC. But this track is my least favorite, but I still really like it. It's just if I had to judge them in order, that's how I would put them. And the design is great. I think the design is as good, pretty much as good as anything else, but it doesn't feel like there's too much. I think that's why I rated the second track, Last Thrill, I believe. That's why I rated that one higher, simply because it had, I mean, it had rhythm sections like this, but it felt like there was different ways around it. When I go around this, it doesn't really feel like there's another way through it or a better way. I mean, there might be some ginormous line that I can't get, but as far as being average, that's kind of the way I think most people are going to go through it. Now, that triple we just went through after those whoops was really, really tough. Those whoops are kind of tough because there's that wall there. And that triple, it was just, I actually had to grab the clutch. I had to grab the clutch coming out of the whoops just to be able to get through it. It does help you. So if you're struggling with that, that is an option. And then everything else is pretty, I mean, pretty standard. There's not a lot of different bigger lines here to do. Now, right off the start, there was that double triple. You can actually triple double that section, and that's a line that we will go over. I think there's 3 laps here, and each lap is a little bit different from the last one. It kind of shows you some of the bigger lines you can hit. I'm not sure. Maybe this is the lap that has the, I think it is. No, it's not. I was wrong. So we go about this the same. Now, this section coming up is probably going to be one that makes a difference for people if you're racing multiplayer, because I mean, that's an option. That triple in the middle, we didn't do that last time. It's kind of awkward because it's turning away from you, but you know, it's definitely faster. I mean, that's for sure 100% faster. But these 2 rhythm sections, again, I already mentioned it, don't really feel like there's another way through them. It just kind of feels like it's that way. And I think we do huck this ball into the whoops for you. I think we do. If we don't, you can do that, but I don't feel like it's faster. And it makes this whole section just kind of a pain to get, you know what I mean? So I think it's better just to roll it. I think you can carry a lot better speed into the whoops. Otherwise, you kind of end up jumping through them, I guess. But the track, I feel like this is definitely the shortest track as far as, I guess as far as lap times go, I feel like it's the shortest. And there's not a lot, besides 1 or 2 bigger lines, I don't feel like this track has as much options as the second one for sure. Even the first one, I feel like had better options as far as line choice goes. Because they elected to put like a back-to-back whoop section there. It would have been cool if they would have. I like the whoop section after the wall because I think it makes it tough to get that triple. But I wish they would have put something else there before the finish line instead of a whoop section. So here you have to roll that, and then you have to clutch. And you just, I mean, wow, that works perfect, right? It just works phenomenally. It works so good, and that is one of the bigger lines aside from like tripling through this section. Or, you know, if someone were to rail this corner here, because I'm not really railing it, maybe you could jump clear over that and then have a different timing through it. Maybe. I didn't really work on that because I don't feel like it would make much of a difference anyways, because you're still jump in and jump out in both these rhythm sections. And then I kind of messed this up, but here we're going to send it over the wall just because I'm sure somebody was curious, and you can, but it just doesn't, see what I mean? I don't think that that's better. I don't think that's better than rolling it and just kind of trying to skim the top of the whoops. And I like that they had the sand sections, and I don't know, I think the track is good, but it's just my least favorite, I think, if I had to choose all 3. It's really close between this one and the second one because it just is, but again, I already mentioned it. The second one, I believe, is better simply because it has more line choice and just it has more character to it than I think this one did. Like I mentioned, I wish they would have put some kind of rhythm section here where the whoops are. But that wraps it up. We're going to jump over to the freestyle arena, check that bad boy out, and give our final thoughts about it, I guess. Okay, so here we have Battlegrounds. This is the final part to the DLC. It is the freestyle arena, and I mean, I think they did a good job with it. I know it's something that I say I don't really care about that much, but I think they did a good job with it. It's fun. It was fun for me to even if I'm not throwing tricks, just to hit the jumps. And I know my tricks are really sucky, and I do like Cordova and Rock Solid like 100,000 times, but sorry guys, I'm not really good at it, and I was trying my best, and mainly what I was trying to do was go around the arena in a really even way. I was trying to hit everything and maintain a really good flow, and that is something that I think they did really well with the design of this, where I guess everything, it has a good flow. It doesn't feel like anytime I feel like there's a stutter or that it's a really awkward way to get around to be able to move from one side of the arena to the other. And one of the coolest parts, you can kind of see it there on the right where the stage is, or the staging area is. There's like a metal ramp to metal ramp. You can jump it both ways, and for the most part, you land just about right. A couple times I think I overjumped, and we'll hit that later before we end the video, but just really cool. I was really glad to see that. That was something kind of unique. This starting area is really cool. I mean, it's like they have the finish line from the tracks, but because I think everything, I'm trying to think. It looks like, I mean, this looks pretty much the same too. I think everything uses the same arena. So the arena is a common theme between all the tracks and the freestyle and everything. They have the staging area, which is neat, and it was really cool how that, you know, every time you go by it, it's like the band's playing, but, you know, Slash is on the bike and everything. So I thought that was kind of unique, and overall, I think the DLC is quite successful. And I'm going to say it before I forget, I believe it's like $4.99, I think is what it's going for. Like the goat form was $7.99 or whatever. Now, I still do believe, oh wait, before we get into that, I don't know if I mentioned it already. If I did, I'm repeating myself, but I do that all the time, so whatever. But the terrain deformation is not what it is at the goat form or the Arena Cross DLC. It's not as gnarly. It doesn't get as rough. It reminds me a lot more compared to the stock track terrain deformation. I think that it's there after you ride a track for a while. I mean, it definitely deteriorates and starts to wear down, but it's not wearing down near as gnarly as it was with the goat form or the Arena Cross tracks, and that makes sense. I mean, those are replicas. People want it to get gnarly and rough and rutted, and that's what people want. They want ruts. So they gave us ruts. But with this, considering the way the DLC is with the tracks that it has and everything, I just don't think it would have been as fun for me if the terrain deformation was super high and the jumps got super worn out and you couldn't hit the big lines. I mean, the whole point of this DLC is that it's fantasy, overscaled, oversized, huge jumps and everything. So if they put in this crazy terrain deformation and you couldn't hit any of that, it would suck. It would totally suck, and I wouldn't like it at all. It wouldn't be fun. So having a very, trying to think of the word I want to use, a very soft terrain deformation, I think works quite well in the favor of this DLC. So that's something I kind of wanted to talk about. Now, that being said, I think it's a very strong DLC. I'm glad that it wasn't priced as much as like the Goat Farm or the Arena Cross tracks. I think you're getting a decent amount of content. I mean, track packs back to Supercross Encore were typically 4 tracks. I mean, I know you're only getting 3 tracks, but you're getting 1 freestyle arena, and hey, even if you're not a freestyle guy, it's still kind of fun to come in here and just get a good flow going and throw some whips. So I guess I think the pricing's about right, and I think the tracks are really good. I'm so glad that they embraced the way that the game is kind of floaty and a little bit arcadey. It just works really, really, really well with this game in particular. So overall, solid DLC. And again, my track rating was, what was it? It was track 1 was, the first track was my favorite, second track was second favorite, and third track was the third favorite. Let me know down in the comments what your guys' favorite track was and what you think. I mean, I guess even if you're a hardcore, I only want replicas and nasty ruts and terrain deformation, what do you think about this? If you were comparing this to something, I still think the Goat Farm is by far the best DLC in the game. I think the Goat Farm, if someone were to ask me, hey, I was gonna buy a DLC, which one was the best? I think the Goat Farm is by far the best DLC in the game, has the most to offer, and has the most train deformation, obviously. But I do believe, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, I think this DLC is more fun to play than the Arena Cross tracks. Okay, I'm kind of just comparing that to tracks and like track DLC, stuff like that. I think this track DLC is more fun to play than the Arena Cross. The Arena Cross is fun. I'm not saying that's a bad DLC. I'm just saying that I had more fun and probably have more time in this DLC already than I ever did with the Arena Cross. So that's gonna wrap it up, guys. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Even if you're a hardcore replica guy, did you enjoy this? Do you think it's cool or not, or what? Did you love it, hate it? Curious to know your guys' thoughts, but you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately, and until the next video, take it easy.